Donald Trump's motorcade arrived at the Mayflower Hotel for what was his first attempt to spell out a cogent foreign policy philosophy. A handful of protesters gathered outside as the man who is centre stage in the race for the White House arrived for a speech that his aides promised would reveal some sense of foreign policy vision. The property magnate is under pressure to stop shooting from the hip and to start acting presidential. And so, flanked by American flags, he used a teleprompter to deliver the address, which at least made the beginning sound somewhat un-Trump-like.
I'd like to talk today about how to develop a new foreign policy direction for our country. One that replaces randomness with purpose, ideology with strategy, and chaos with peace.
Mr. Trump's central thesis, if that's not too grand a word, is that under Barack Obama, America's foreign policy reputation has been trashed and its global standing tarnished. America's prevarication over Syria had created Islamic State. White House underinvestment in the US military had led to America's nuclear deterrent atrophying. The Iran nuclear deal was one of many things he called a disaster. And when it comes to events in Asia,
our president has allowed China to continue its economic assault on American jobs and wealth, refusing to enforce trade deals and apply leverage on China necessarily to rein in North Korea. We have the leverage, we have the power over China, economic power, and people don't understand it. And with that economic power, we can rein in and we can get them to do what they have to do with North Korea, which is totally out of control. He has even allowed China to steal government secrets with cyber attacks and engage in industrial espionage against the United States and its companies. We've let our rivals and challengers think they can get away with anything.
All of that, Mr. Trump suggested, will end the moment he steps into the Oval Office. Muslims, at least temporarily, won't be allowed to enter the country. There will be new attempts to determine whether Russian President Vladimir Putin really cannot be trusted. The US military will be rebuilt and its commanders liberated from having to worry about things like global warming. And US troops will be committed to the battle against Islamic State, although Mr. Trump insisted he doesn't necessarily see himself as a warmonger.
Our friends and enemies must know that if I draw a line in the sand, I will enforce that line in the sand. Believe me. However, unlike other candidates for the presidency, war and aggression will not be my first instinct. You cannot have a foreign policy without diplomacy. A superpower understands that caution and restraint are really, truly signs of strength.
So, when you hear Donald Trump say...
He called Hillary Clinton's foreign policy record reckless, rudderless and aimless. And if there was any coherence to the speech, it was perhaps contained in this description of the priority that drives him.
Foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. Has to be first. Has to be. That will be the foundation of every single decision that I will make. America, thank you. America first will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
It's not the first time that phrase has been used in US foreign policy.
At home, we listened in suspense.
Adolf Hitler's all-out attack on Poland makes the long-dreaded European war a certainty.
Back in the 1930s, America First was a national movement that campaigned to keep the country out of World War II. It took public information films like this one to build support for eventual US involvement in the conflict. Donald Trump insisted that President Roosevelt's decision to enter that war had saved the world, even if America First at the time was the rallying cry for those campaigning against it. The speech Donald Trump made here leaves a vast array of open questions. Is he an isolationist? Will he really withdraw America's military protection from those countries that fail to pay whatever he considers a fair share of the costs of their defence? And will he make any further attempts to communicate a coherent foreign policy vision, one that goes beyond the often contradictory and muddy thoughts contained in this address? Simon Marks, Channel NewsAsia, at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington.